Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. It is the second week of February 2026, and the 119th Congress is moving at a breakneck pace, from contentious committee hearings on election integrity to a slew of legislation tackling everything from body cameras to hydroelectric power. The docket is full.
That's right, Lenny. We have a lot of ground to cover today. Let's dive straight into the legislative hopper. There's a fascinating mix of bills introduced recently that range from hyper-local issues to sweeping regulatory changes. One that caught my eye immediately is House Resolution 7125, the Stop Body Camera Paywalls Act.
This is a really interesting one, Victor. For listeners who might not know, many law enforcement agencies struggle with hidden costs when it comes to storing and accessing body cam footage. This bill aims to prevent vendors from holding that public data hostage by exorbitant subscription fees. It's a transparency measure that actually has bipartisan appeal.
Absolutely. Speaking of transparency and efficiency, we're seeing a significant push against bureaucracy. We have House Resolution 4305, the Dump Red Tape Act, and House Resolution 3483, the Fraud Act of 2025. While the text is still being digested by analysts, the titles signal a clear continuation of the majority's promise to slash administrative burdens.
And that theme of efficiency extends to the Senate side as well. We saw Senate Bill 246, the Interstate Transport Act of 2025. This builds on previous efforts to streamline logistics across state lines, which could have a direct impact on the cost of goods for everyday Americans. If trucks can move more easily, supply chain costs usually drop.
We also have some crucial health and science legislation on the table. House Resolution 2319, the Women and Lung Cancer Research and Preventive Services Act of 2025, is a major move. Lung cancer affects women differently than men, and for the first time in a while, we are seeing a dedicated push to fund research specifically targeting those biological differences.
On the environmental front, there's House Resolution 7129, the Water Power Research and Development Reauthorization Act. This is vital for modernizing our hydroelectric infrastructure. And getting into the weeds of energy reliability, we have House Resolution 3843, the Baseload Reliability Protection Act. This likely aims to ensure that as we transition energy sources, the grid remains stable, a huge concern after the blackouts we've seen in recent years.
I want to pivot briefly to Veterans Affairs, which is always a heavy focus. We have House Resolution 647, the Ensuring Veterans Final Resting Place Act of 2025, and House Resolution 3834, the Protecting Veterans Claim Options Act.
These are essential updates. The claims process at the VA has notoriously been a bottleneck. H.R. 3834 appears to be an effort to give veterans more agency in how they file and process those disability claims.
And before we leave the bills, there's a unique piece of legislation, Senate Bill 621. It's a bill to revoke the Charter of Incorporation of the Lower Sioux Indian community at their request.
Right, and that at their request part is the key. This is a matter of tribal sovereignty. Often, tribes operate under old federal charters that restrict their economic development. Revoking the federal charter allows them to operate under their own tribal constitution, giving them more autonomy. It's a procedural move, but a powerful one for that community.
Now, Lenny, let's move to where the real fireworks were this week, the committee meetings. The schedule was packed.
Packed is an understatement. The House Judiciary Committee held a hearing titled Make Elections Great Again: How to Restore Trust and Integrity in Federal Elections. Given the political climate of 2026, you can imagine the temperature in that room.
Definitely. And that wasn't the only heated discussion. There was a hearing on Sharia-free America regarding political Islam and the Constitution, as well as a hearing titled Foreign Influence in American Nonprofits, specifically targeting threats from Beijing. The 119th Congress is clearly focusing heavily on ideological and foreign influence operations.
On a procedural note, we saw a lot of activity regarding the Constitution itself. The committee considered House Joint Resolution 139. This is a proposal for a constitutional amendment requiring a balanced federal budget.
That is a perennial favorite for fiscal conservatives. But let's remind our listeners, passing a constitutional amendment is incredibly difficult. It requires a 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate, and then ratification by 3/4 of the states. It's a high bar, but bringing it to committee signals it's a top priority for the leadership.
They also marked up House Resolution 1028, the Protection of Women in Olympic and Amateur Sports Act. This continues the debate we've seen over the last few years regarding eligibility in women's sports.
Now, Lenny, you mentioned a markup regarding a slew of government operations bills. Can you explain to our listeners what a markup actually is?
Sure. A markup is the step where a committee debates, amends, and rewrites proposed legislation. It's the final step before a bill gets sent to the House floor. The Oversight Committee had a massive markup session covering 10 bills.
That included House Resolution 7274, the Federal Acquisition Security Council Improvement Act, and House Resolution 2985, the Modernizing Government Technology Reform Act.
And H.R. 7265, the Vote by Mail Tracking Act. These aren't the flashy headlines, but this is the gears of government turning. Modernizing how the federal government buys technology and tracks mail-in ballots affects how tax dollars are spent and how confident people feel in agency competence.
We also saw oversight hearings on the SEC, titled Restoring Accountability, and on FERC regarding affordable energy. It seems like every agency is under the microscope right now.
Moving on to personnel, the Senate has been busy with nominations. We have a slate of potential judges including Justin R. Olson for the Southern District of Indiana and Nicholas John Ganji for the Southern District of Texas.
Judicial nominations are arguably the most lasting legacy of any Congress. We also saw nominations for the executive branch, including Daniel Edwards to be an Assistant Secretary of Transportation and John DeLemieux to the National Transportation Safety Board. With the infrastructural projects ongoing, these roles at the DOT and NTSA are critical for safety and execution.
And finally, for those who want to verify everything we've said, the official congressional records for January 27th through February 2nd, volumes 172, numbers 19 through 23, are now available. These are the verbatim transcripts of the floor proceedings.
So what should you watch for in the coming days? Keep an eye on that water power bill, H.R. 7129. With the energy reliability hearings happening simultaneously, energy policy is shaping up to be a major battleground this spring.
And also watch the progress of House Joint Resolution 139, the Balanced Budget Amendment. Even if it doesn't pass, the debate on the floor will set the tone for the upcoming fiscal year battles.
We'll be here to track it all. Thanks for listening to Capital Catch-Up.
See you next time.